Okay. Hi, Ellen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming here to this interview. I'm so happy having you here now and that you followed my invitation for this interview today. We had the chance to meet lately on Facebook. We just met and we saw that our work is quite very, very similar and that we're heading in the same direction and that we're talking from the same room, out of the same taking the same aspects into our work. Right. And so that's why I invited you. I was curious about to learn more about your work. And I had the chance to get to know it more, to attend at a meeting yesterday, which was very impressive and which was giving me an idea of, wow, how, if you take something like the truth in something or a basis of an approach which comes from the natural, from the scientific side, it is really, really coming together so smoothly. It is so similar. So let's tell me, please tell us about what was your way. You have been releasing several books. You have done a DVD. You are a Feldenkrais practitioner. Yeah. And please tell us more about that.
Yeah, when I look back, there are really many layers of learning and modalities and different ways of approaching the same problem to arrive at something which perhaps has some different solutions from the standard things we see. I try not to go against the standard things we see, but to enhance them, to find the little bit of, maybe this is a little off, so if we modify it a little bit, then a person's playing is going to flourish and blossom. So it starts back in Montreal. I was a precocious child and I was talented, but my teachers, they were good people, but they didn't know much about music. about piano playing.
You're Canadian.
Yeah, I'm Canadian. I'm from Montreal. And so I got to the end of high school and entered university basically because I could play the piano, so why not? And my sister, who was a horn player, thought I need a better teacher. She could see that, like, I'm not going anywhere. I can play, but professional pianism is a lot more than just being able to play a few pieces nicely. And she introduced me to a student of one of the main piano teachers in Montreal, and she whipped off her scales, and like I was supposed to be duly impressed, and I just found it like horribly mechanical, like she was attacking the piano. There was something all brutal in it, and like there's no way I'm going to do that. Like, so
I understand.
Yeah,
you were realizing that the way usually piano teaching is taking place is too mechanical for you. It does not fit for what you want to find in it.
Yeah.
Or what is your intention?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was totally naive. I was a kid. I didn't know anything, but something inside just repelled me. Like, no, not that. Yeah. And I was very lucky because in Montreal lived at that time Phil Cohen, who was a student of Yvonne Hubert, who was a student of Courteau. And now the thing that's not taught in the Courteau books, like the rational principles of pianoforte technique, is that he used this sculpting of the phrase with the arm. So if you're sculpting the phrase with the arm, and Phil developed this to a fine art, so he would take my hand and just move my arm a little bit in a different direction, and all of a sudden the piano would sound amazing. It was, what was that? And it was really miraculous, and I didn't understand it, but I loved it, and so
you felt it like truth. You felt it. You felt it.
Truth, absolutely.
It felt like truth. Yeah,
absolutely.
Your body was telling you, wow, that's. And your sound and the ear, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course, if the arm is sculpting like that, then it's not a weighted touch. So instantly, and if you go back to harpsichord technique, I roomed with a harpsichordist who's now director of early music at McGill, Hank Knox, and so I saw, like, the harpsichordists, they're moving the wrist laterally, and they have this wonderful dome shape in the hand, which is in the harpsichord treatises, and there's nothing, you don't relax. No, you play relaxed, but the structure is maintained. The structure is always working for you. So the way Phil taught me, and Phil would have me make a bird beak to feel that structure and peck the keys. You know, sometimes even that'll be
like a bird.
Yeah, like, and you get this amazing, percussive sound. So he had the whole spectrum of, every piano note. You as a singer should understand this. Every piano note begins as a consonant and continues as a vowel. So he had the whole spectrum of the percussive element of piano tone and the singing element of piano tone, and moving the body in a way that would make that blossom, and always mapping onto musical shape and musical gesture and musical character. So it was a miracle working with Phil. I feel incredibly blessed. And when I finished studying with him, I finished my diploma program, and I believed that I could not play piano without him. I felt totally dependent on him. Luckily, he went on sabbatical, and I discovered I could play piano without him. And I was so afraid of that dependency that I did not go back for 25 years.
Wow.
But I did decide to do a Feldenkrais training, a training in the Feldenkrais Method, because Phil was miraculous. I feel he's the Moshe Feldenkrais of the piano world. But it was.
Did he know about this? Did he know about this technique?
He met Moshe Feldenkrais. He brought Feldenkrais to Sir George Williams University in Montreal. But this is long before I knew anything about it.
So he was familiar with the matter. He was familiar with this.
Yeah.
He was familiar with the matter. He knew.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So because I felt if I do Feldenkrais, I can understand human movement more globally, and maybe I'll start to figure out what Phil. And Phil is a little bit in the clouds. He's very far removed from performing. Yeah, he didn't perform for many decades actually, and 2 weeks before my Feldenkrais training began, I met Kemal Gekic, the pianist with whom I ended up coming to study in Novi Sad. Now, perhaps we can put the link on to this interview I gave and the concert that he gave when he played at the Montreal International Competition. It was a great event. But there was the living example of everything that I was searching for in piano technique. Completely well organized, no wasted movement, no heaviness, but sheer athleticism that can produce any sound, any musical character you want. He was a genius then, and he's still a genius today. So these were I was very lucky in my teachers, but I was also lucky to do a Feldenkrais training. So, and I also have a Tai Chi teacher in Montreal, Sam Slusky, who's the fourth big mentor.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
And
so you had also so lucky coincidences which were coming together, which were just helping you to produce the sound you ever were looking for. And I had the chance yesterday to meet Gekic. He was at your class at the time. It was so wonderful.
Yeah.
It was like a reunion, and you could feel the energy and the atmosphere there. It was really...
And the other reason that made me go in another direction was the great pianists. Horowitz, who was still alive. I heard Horowitz 4 times in my life in concert. And they were life-changing events. And the other great ones who are no longer with us, but Rubinstein and Rachmaninoff and the Pachman and Ignaz Friedman and all these individual sounds, wonderfully free and yet totally stable, not sort of seasick, not sort of this false expressivity. Wanda Landowska. Her Mozart piano sonatas are unbelievable. You have to. This record is an unbelievable record. It was a great influence on me. And just as a little aside, that record was recorded on this piano. This is Wanda Landowska's piano. But that's another whole story. We're not going to get into that today.
So you were touched by Wanda Landowski and you touched her piano.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's movement. The quality of your movement has a direct effect on your sound. Everything you do sounds.
So that we are going the totally same direction.
That's right. Yeah.
That's totally the same direction. It's not enough to hear the sound enough. It doesn't. It's not enough to hear it. You need to know what to do. You need to know how to organize, as you say. And I love your phrase, which you mentioned, to let the structure work for you.
Absolutely.
To let the structure work for you, because that's a point where structure comes in and at a helping point, like an anchor. Mm-hmm. which is leading to a different way of niveau at ease.
That's right.
By understanding. And so that's how we're also working with my students when it comes also to piano technique, but also to sight reading or to learn new music. So that's the way really the world is putting together structure filled with love.
So Tai Chi gives you a very special understanding of structure. You never push. You move from the center, and the push emanates from the center. So that's all skeletal alignments. Feldenkrais was a judoka who then understood the neuromotor processes that help a person learn that quality of movement, where every lever of the skeleton is working for you. And then I had Phil showing me that stuff at the piano, and then finally I had Kemal, who was like the living proof and the living example. So I could study with him. I could sit beside him. We spent one evening he just played me all the Liszt Hungarian Rhapsodies. You know this one? Oh, you don't know the third? Oh, I mean, these are like stunning. But the sound and the organization, musical intention, physical inflection, sonic result. So I spent 10 years as his assistant. I spent 10 years as his assistant here in Novi Sad. 1990 to 1999.
So wonderful.
And then I started writing books about it after that, because everything was starting to come together. Things were getting clearer and clearer. Yeah.
Falling into the place.
Yeah.
And so what you made with this knowledge and with your experiencing all this new field of living, a new kind of living with music or expressing music, you put it into works, you put it into books.
Yeah.
So because the interesting thing is that there's the possibility of reaching one of the most sublime sound with very, very small adjustments and with small trainings and exercises. And so that's very interesting for students, because one of my question is, most students, they are just happy to play their piece. They're just happy to play. Mm-hmm. They don't have an often awareness about the possibilities they have or they actually could have. So how would you explain to a normal student, to a piano student who's playing its piece, why it is so crucial to know how to play?
Well, we have to get back to one of your other questions, which you mentioned you might ask me, which is how does my teaching differ from the mainstream? So, like I said, I don't want to go against the mainstream, but there are two main issues which are many times misunderstood. One is relaxation. Relax, relax, relax. And then if you completely relax, you can't move. You'll fall out of your chair. Yeah. So, and I see this all the time. Somebody's relaxing, and then in their relaxing, they're losing their structure. So if I walk down the street and I went to relax, I would be on the pavement, flat out. So
I'm totally in love in that.
That's right. And the other one is using the weight of the arm. So when you look back at the research about arm weight technique, it was not use the weight of the arm to move the key. Actually, what it was sense the weight of your arm in order to free it so that it can move well. Claudio Arrau, a strong hand is the sine qua non of arm weight technique. So you let the arm fall, but the hand stands royally, totally in its structure, and not with difficulty, not trying to stand, but just standing, like as easy as I get out of a chair.
Yeah.
Like our spine, is it?
Yeah. That's right. Exactly.
I also love to compare it with the spine.
That's
I
right.
also love to compare it with the
Yeah.
spine.
So I see it all the time. I very rarely see weight technique done properly. And I see it all the time. People misunderstood it. And people come to me because they've read my books, and I'm always dissing arm weight technique in my books. And I actually created a few enemies, which I'm not happy about because I do try to be collegial. But people come to me because many are injured because of all this falling, and having to catch, and there's tension. Then you release the tension, but it's too late. Why did you make that tension in the first place? So, somewhere along the line, I came up with this metaphor. It sort of occurred to me, wait a minute, this is like walking, this is like standing, this is like running. The hand is a mini body. It's got an ankle and a knee and a hip joint and a pelvis and a torso. And even the elbow is the head. Although you see, now I'm doing a headstand. But when you take that dynamic and then you realize nobody walks down the street like this. People walk down the street with their body flowing. The legs are moving. So you get this fundamental differentiation. Fingers produce tone, arm joins tone. And I spend a lot of time with my students just getting clear on that. Because we're all mixed up about it. We're mixing the two. So there are really detrimental consequences when you're not clear about that fundamental differentiation. And then there are other differentiations like my Tai Chi teacher talks about inversions when for instance the knee is lower than the hip joint. They're upside down. So if the knee is lower than the hip joint, then the thing doesn't work. Now the inversion has been corrected, and all of a sudden I feel movement coursing all the way through.
It's so interesting how logical it is.
Yeah.
If you just are in coherence with natural laws. That's the way how I explain it. The way everything is about being in line with natural laws and using natural laws for your favor.
Yeah.
For
It's
your
physics
favor.
in
Just
the
let
body.
it work.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the body, and it's just about the energies which are there, the weight which are there to let work in your favor. So that's wonderful. So for beginners, because everything what you're telling now is very, very in detail and is very, very practical. So for somebody who does know to play the piano or who wants to play the piano, because I'm a piano teacher, I have many students. I also train teachers which have students, and also to help them more getting into the matter, how to really be aware of their movements at the piano. How do they play? What would you give them? What would you tell them if you just had one in front of you?
First of all, I would give them this.
Yeah.
Okay. I would give them this.
So that was what I'm looking for.
So because I've got a fourth book on the way, but you can see here my first three books: The Craft of Piano Playing and Honing the Pianistic Self-Image and All Thumbs. You see the German version of Honing Pianistic Self-Image here, and so most of my books will be in German by the end of the year. So back to Pianimals. I feel all these books are great, but studio teachers, not even studio teachers can use them, let alone the children. The studio teachers, who's got time to read 4 big books? So I figured out, all those 250 awareness through movement lessons for the pianist are distilled down into 28 lessons here. Yeah? And then why is it called Pianimals? Because, well, I was figuring it out, and so where to start with kids? Because you're right, you have to start somewhere. So let's move to the piano, and you can see that, for instance, I see a kid and he's playing like this. And the kid doesn't even, have time to, I have to explain to his hand arch, and the hand is an arch, and if you say, no, the kids don't work, their minds don't work like that.
They don't work intellectually, that's what I think, yeah.
So, and this is the first time we met. I was actually observing a colleague's piano lesson in Geneva, actually, and I just told the kid, listen, your hand is a monster, and Oh my God. Oh, look, the monster's waking up. Oh, don't let him wake up. Don't let him wake up. Make sure he goes back to sleep. Don't. Oh, he's waking up again. Oh. And so what he's doing is making a whole finger flexion. He's not curling his fingers, but he's also not falling on the keys. He's doing a straight fingered flexion of the hand. And eventually with this little game we played, the monster game, he grew up, and then he played the same. He played instantly with no pumping. So it was, and then I realized, my God, this making the hand like some sort of an animal. I did another one where we're rolling the hand this way and that way. And then you roll the hand this way and that way on the key, and this way and that way on the key. Because they're trying to stand up, but it's stiff. And so roll it this way, roll it that way. Feel the bones mashing into the key. Oh, it's like a sleepy bear. It's like a sleepy bear. So then I, Dragan, my amazing artist, comes up with this.
And the sleepy bear was born.
Yeah, and for me, Sleepy Bear is still. I think he's one of my favorite of all the Pianimals illustrations.
Wow.
And Lucky the cat is in the corner there. He's got the best spot. So
wonderful, so emotional,
And then a bird beak. So for bird beak, we have Cockatoo Carol. We have Lucky the cat is now showing with his hand how he made his hand into a bird beak, and the bird has got a steam digger that's a bird beak, and so it's all the manifestations of bird beak. Bird beaks are going to. Yes, and the bird beak firms up the hand. You're not going to play with the bird beak very often, but all the muscles which have you walk and run and stand up really beautifully, all those muscles are now engaged the instant you make a bird beak. And I have them peck their heads and peck this and peck that. So I realized, my God, if I'm doing it, with bird beaks and sleepy bears and monsters, why not make a whole book of Pianimals? And actually it was supposed to be called the Piano Zoo, but my daughter told me that, zoos are politically incorrect now. It's not right to incarcerate animals. And then she said, Pianimals! So that's how Pianimals is born.
I have a book, I've written a book, it's called Keyboard Zoo.
Oh, really?
It was 10 years ago. Yes, my piano learning book for 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. It's called Keyboard Zoo.
So I wrote music for all of the exercises, so that there's a practical way to immediately feel the exercise while you're making music.
Wonderful. It's so wonderful. I think it's so wonderful that you have so it's such a holistic approach which you have to your technique, which is so easy. Is it only for children, or what is your experience? So because that's the question people ask me, because if they hear about snowman piano, it's only for children, or it's, oh my God, why to say to 3-chord snowman, why is it needed? So please explain.
A lot of the people in the first Pianimals Online Institute, was just finished, were some of my most long-standing students. Some of them are teaching piano, not all of them are teaching piano, but the ones who are teaching are also still a very active performing career. And to a man, to a woman, to all of them, they all said, my God, this is helping me first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help my students with this, but I have benefited tremendously. And I had one person on last night, Ingrid Barakovsky, she's going to be using this in her university class. She's using this with her undergraduates. So when I decided to distill Pianimals, distill all these books down into a form which is easy for studio teachers, it made it easy for everybody. And somehow, I didn't expect this, but when it's sort of simpler, I got it simpler and more straightforward without dummying it down. It didn't get superficial. Somehow, this is for me a miracle, that I made it simpler and less complex and more straightforward and concise, and it got more powerful.
So
because maybe some of the extraneous details which aren't really so important get stripped away, and then you have the essential. So it's, but I'm still amazed at the degree to which the piano is sensitive. And yesterday in those lessons, I think you saw, I did a minor technical adjustment, and the piano totally changes its sound. Like a huge musical improvement from a very minor physical adjustment. That still mystifies me. Like, how can it? But that's the miracle of the human body and human sensitivity and human ability to respond. Once you have a system that's responsive and not impinging itself on its environment, but dancing with its environment.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's so wonderful. So, Alan, if you had one sentence where you put your approach into it, what would that be? In one sentence. Do you have one? I read one.
Okay.
Lately.
Let me hear yours. I'll see if I can top it or not.
Oh, no, it's not me at this time. It's on the email, on your email on the bottom. I can read it for you. I can read it for you if you like. I can just look it up. Because you're writing, life is a tragedy for those who feel, a comedy for those who think, and a dance for those who sense.
That's right. Yeah. So do you know where that comes from?
Horace Walpole. Horace Walpole wrote, "Life is a tragedy for those who think, who feel, and a comedy for those who think." And then I added, "and a dance for those who sense." Because if
You added, so I was wondering.
if you move like an animal and are sensitive like an animal, you will play music like a human being. With all the heart.
So
You should write that down, please. If you dance like an animal and move like it, you play like a human being, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being my guest at this time. And I'm so looking forward to all what is coming in the future. I'm looking forward to introducing your books to my students and to my piano teachers, and to tell them how wonderful it goes together with also my technical approach, which I have had for the last decades of years.
I'm very excited because as soon as my books are translated into German, they're going on your publishing site, and when your books are translated to English, they're going on my online store. So
yes, they are.
this is I'm very, very happy about this. It's because I'm
Me too. Thank you.
People worry about competing with me, but like it's a conversation. It's a sharing. It's an exchange, and the more we can together explore this wonderful field, the further we're going to get.
Yeah.
Christine Olsen, who was there last night, the blonde lady, she organized my first piano institute in the States like 10 years ago. And she made up, I can't even remember what the exercise was now, but she made up this really cool exercise. And I said to her, can I put that in my next book, Christine? And she said, no, you can't. I said, oh, wow. Because I'm going to put it in my book. And I went, great! Fantastic!
So she has also written a book.
Well, I keep bugging her about it, but I haven't seen the book yet. But I've gotta keep at her. I've gotta, some people you gotta push them. Yeah. The Feldenkrais Method, it's not just about physical movement. It's about the deeper human within us being able to manifest. Freeing itself from these blocks which are there, the armoring that we, when you free from that, you blossom as a human being, as a soul. So this idea that we're obsessed with the physical, that's an illusion. Here, the physical is really a path to the whole self.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You put it into words. What my intention also is when working with students, and when bringing more freedom and lightness and knowledge and sensitivity and consciousness into the world, into the piano world, and giving wings, giving students wings, is it? So,
Great. Yeah.
see you again soon. all the best for you, Ellen. In the
It's
meantime.
been a wonderful pleasure to have this conversation. Thank you for
And for
setting
me
it up.
too.
It's great.
I appreciate
Hope to
it.
do
a
it
lot.
again.
Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.